All right, hello everyone. I'm here with Charlene Meyer, who is a voting volunteer who she assists with the voting process in Las Cruces, New Mexico. So, Charlene, if you could just please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you're involved with the voting process and what your duties are as someone who chooses to volunteer to help with the election.
Well, it's a lot of they do a lot of training when you come in. So, you sign up to work and they train you for several hours. And there's a lot involved in the training of the election officials. So even though it's a temporary position, it does change a little bit every election. So, that's why they have to retrain you each time. Some things stay the same, but some things change a little bit. So I do it because it's a very, very fulfilling experience. The voters have been enthusiastic. They've been coming in droves, which is really, really great for our whole democratic process that we have going on.
Amazing, great. So yeah, let's start with that because the purpose of us sitting down and talking is we really want to illustrate kind of a step-by-step guide for people on how to vote in this coming election, right? Because especially for I know myself as a younger person, I've only voted once before, and so there's a lot of things about the process that I'm still really fuzzy on, and I think that a lot of people, young, old, whatever. There's a lot of questions because it's a very complicated process. So, just to start out with, could you please just, from the perspective of a voting volunteer, what is the voting process? So, like start to finish, what is kind of the steps that people go through to get in there and to vote, and how do you participate that in your duties?
Okay. Oh, the first thing that people aren't sure about is where they need to go to vote. So there are people can go online and look up their county clerk's office or their elections bureau, and there will be a list of places. In New Mexico, you can vote anywhere in the county where you are registered to vote. So it's not like you have to go to a specific precinct to vote, which is great because if you know you're going to be on the outskirts of town or even in a different town in the county, a lot of times there is a polling station where you can vote, especially on election day. There are lots of polling stations open. So that's one of the best things about it that people don't really know. You don't have to go to a specific place to vote. So you look it up, you find out where you want to go, and then you come on in. And lately, when you come in, depending on the time, you have to stand in line a little bit, but somebody is there to direct you where to go. Then when you come in, there are check-in stations, little computers where they look you up. All you need to do, if you are a registered voter already, is say your first name, last name, and the year you were born. And if you're registered, you will pop up in the system and your ballot will be printed out for you. And then you can just go vote. It's very, very simple. And there are people along every step of the way to help you. We have accessible voting available. If you need to sit down while you vote, there are always stations where you can sit down or you can stand up, whichever. So we try to make it as easy and convenient as possible. It's very quick. Now, if you aren't registered yet, in New Mexico, we do have same day registration. So there will be someone available to register you. You have to check, depending on your county, how large or small it is or how many people they have staffing. On election day, definitely there will be same day registration at every polling station here in New Mexico. For early voting, they may or may not have it at all of the polling stations, but they will definitely have same day registration available at the county clerk's office polling station. So, there's really no excuse to not to vote if you're an eligible voter.
So, the first question I have is how do you register to vote? Because you said earlier, once you're registered, it's very straightforward. But what is registration? How do you register to vote? What is the process behind that?
So basically, what you do is you would have to have some sort of photo ID, okay, because they need to verify who you are. If you're a student, you also need a student ID, and then you also have to show some, I believe it's a proof that like a copy of your tuition statement that shows that you're actually, attending university, and this is what you're paying to attend the university, because we do get out of state students. And for other people, the other things you might need would be, let's say, something that shows your residency. Like if you don't have a driver's license, or a current driver's license, it could even be one that's expired. But if we have something that's current that shows that you live in the county, proof of your residency, and then a photo ID. So you can find the details on the New Mexico Secretary of State's office. So also, if you are a convicted felon, you can vote as long as you're not currently incarcerated, obviously. And but more specifics can be answered by the same-day registration clerk or your local county clerk. So those are things that, it's pretty easy for them to help you on that. You can either give them a call or go in person. Okay, so it's really pretty simple. If you're at the polling place and you're doing same-day registration, it takes maybe at most 30 minutes for them to process your registration. And then from there, they would print out your ballot and then you vote. So, it has to be a whole one-step process. So we are finding that, it can take anywhere from as short as 5 minutes once they've submitted the information to, approve that registration, up to maybe 15 or 20 minutes. It usually doesn't take 30 minutes unless there's a huge backlog. So it's pretty quick. If you're doing it, if this was, let's say, October 7th or earlier, you can fill out a paper form, or you could do it online. So it's pretty simple to do. But
the next question is, so you found where you can register. You get registered online, you call your county clerk. Once you're registered, you have a voter card, but it's unnecessary. You just need to know your first name when you go. And the next big question is, where do I go to vote? Where can I find a polling station? And so once, election time comes around, is there, some sort of map I can find? Is there a designated polling location? Are there places that I know I should go to vote?
right. So this year, the New Mexico Secretary of State sent all voters a card that had all of the polling locations for this election. So that's one way. If you kept that, then here you go. You know where to go and what the hours are, where the locations are. You can also go again to nmvote.org, and you can look up your polling stations. So all you do is, I believe you just type in your name and your address. It's very, simple, and it lists all the polling stations. It's pretty interactive, so that if you wanted to look at it on a map, you can do that too. They make it very easy.
All right, and after that, my next question is, when should people go vote? So as we all know, election day in the beginning of November, but I've heard there's early voting access that you can do. And because is it just one day that you're able to go vote, or is there a time period when you can do it? So when should people, once they've found where they can go vote, when should they make the plan of, I'm gonna schedule this into my time, into my day this week, of this is when I'm gonna go vote?
So in New Mexico, we open early voting about a month before. I don't remember the exact number of days, but it was almost exactly a month before Election Day. So Election Day voting is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. At all of the polling stations in your county. In our county, we opened up at the county clerk's office. There, we have a polling location that opened up actually on October 8th. So, and they're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And then on the October 19th, we have alternate voting locations that are opening around the county. So probably about 9 or so, I believe, additional locations that are opening up. Most of them are in some outer areas. So those will be open Tuesdays through Saturdays from 11 to 7. So all of that information is also on the websites, or available on your county clerk's website, or the election officials' website. So it's very, very easy to find it, or nmvote.org.
Good, yeah. And just so we can put this in, big bold letters, big bright red text, when is the last day that you're able to vote? So what's the deadline? When you have to make sure I go into the polls before this day?
November 5th, Tuesday, November 5th, election day. Before you need to be in line by 7 p.m. So that's the latest. And if you've got absentee ballots that you haven't mailed in yet, there are drop boxes. They need to be taken to those and put into those drop boxes by November 5th, 7 p.m. That's the absolute deadline.
So my next question is, when you get your ballot, like what could you expect to see on the ballot? Because, everyone is familiar with the presidential election, but what are the other parts of that? Because in my experience, my first time voting, there was a lot of stuff on there that I had no idea about. So I just want to know, what can people anticipate when they get the ballot so they can be prepared beforehand? What is actually on there? What votes do you have to make? What choices do you have to make when you see it?
Okay, so it's going to depend on, your ballot is based on where you live. So you may have, in addition to the presidential and the congressional, there are also some state offices that are open, like Attorney General, just a variety of things. You may have judges or local commission members. There may be offices like that. And let's see. Oh, and also amendments to the state constitution, or there could be state or local bonds that are up for approval, or various propositions in your city, or tax proposals, those types of things. So you do have to kind of do your homework a little bit to find that. So not speaking as an election official, because we are nonpartisan, but if we switch to the Blue CD2 mode, some people find that on bluecd2nm.com we have the Blue Voter Guide that could be helpful for some people. But again, so there are a lot of things that could be on your ballot, but it depends on what's going on in your city or town. You may have a mayor who's up for election, or a sheriff, or what have you. So lots of things to study for. School board, even, there could be some of those things. Those are very important. So, and it is extremely important for voters to do their homework and check what's going on, not just at the top of the ticket, not just presidential, but all the way down to your local school board or soil conservation office, or what have you. So those are things to keep in mind.
Very good. Yeah. So, something that I've discussed with Rochelle and the other members of Blue City 2 is, every vote matters and every election matters. Every single official that's operating in our government, that's how democracy works. We all have a voice. And if we all, do our research, take our time to really look at who we think would be the best choice for making this country a better place, like, we can make that difference. So, but that can be kind of intimidating to think about, oh, I have to know all of this stuff about all these positions. Now I don't want to go and vote anymore. So what would you say to someone who's in that position?
So when you go into that Secretary of State website, or the nmvote.org website, you can actually print a sample ballot. So one that looks exactly like what you're going to be getting, at the polling station. So that's a good place to start, to look at all those things, and you'll see what's actually up for vote, and then you can start to do your homework or your research. If you are unable to, if your printer is broken down or whatever, you can actually go to the polling station now, and they have a little computer station where you can do the same thing. All you need is an address, and it will print out the ballot that is specific to that address. One question that we get asked by voters is if they don't know anything at all about a certain, you know, amendment or something, or maybe they don't want to fill in all the little bubbles. They're like, oh, is my ballot still going to count if I don't fill everything out? It will still count. So you don't have to fill out every single bubble. So just people wonder about that. It is a question that we get.
So for someone who, because as you said, the deadline for online registration has passed at this point. For someone who still needs to register and needs to look into same-day registration, but still wants to be prepared for the issues that they're going to be voting on, how is there a way that they can get a sample ballot without having registered previously?
Sure. They can go, if they go to the polling stations, there is a computer terminal. All you need is a street address, and you just enter that and the ballot will print out. So they'll be based on where you live.
Last thing I want to talk about before we wrap up is what can people do who, have decided to vote, know how they're going to vote, and are ready to vote. What can people do to encourage others to vote? Because it's important that we get as many people as possible, right? So someone who has already created their voting plan, how can they help others, talk to their friends, get people in their community to also make a voting plan and get ready to vote this election?
I think if they let them know how easy it really is to go and vote, I guess we've been at our polling location, we've been extremely busy at times, but people have been so pleasant, and we get them right through those lines. It's amazing. The very first day of early voting, we had people up and down the entire building. The line was about a 45-minute to maybe an hour wait, but they just got right through. Any other time, it's been maybe 15, 20 minutes. And that includes the time, the longest period of time that they're spending is actually filling in their ballot, especially if they haven't done their homework ahead of time. Because some people will print out their sample ballots while they're in line. We'll do that for them. And then they're studying it and making their decisions while they're in line. So, if you've already got your homework done, it takes you maybe 2 minutes to fill out all those little bubbles and you're in and out of there. So, and even, a lot of people come prepared to wait, and they've been pleasantly surprised that it hasn't taken nearly as long as they anticipated. One thing to note is that if we do get a lot of elderly people or those who may have the mobility issues. If they have an issue standing in line, just say something to the poll worker, and we move you right to the front of the line. So a lot of people are hesitant because they're like, oh, people won't like us taking cuts. It's not an issue. People do not mind. So, if that's something that's going to cause you to hesitate, don't hesitate because of that. We'll work with you and help you just to get you in and out of there as smoothly and quickly as possible.
So don't hesitate, everyone. Go out there and do it. It's really simple. It's really easy. All the resources are there. Just make that change, and you can make a difference in our democracy.
Exactly.
Very good. All right. Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for all this wonderful information, and go vote.
Already did.
I know you did. You get a pass. I'm talking to everyone else. Well, great. Good job for you. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Okay. Bye.